Hello everyone, welcome to Shonky Lab. My name's Elton, I'm joined by the guest producer, Mr. Lee Medcalf.
Hello, here I am again.
Again, yes. For the people that didn't join us in the chat room, we had a slight technical hitch with me not being loud enough for some weird reason. So we've done like a little pit stop, changed microphones, and here we are again.
Yeah, it was a very fast pit stop, actually. Well done.
It wasn't too bad, was it?
No.
Glad I had all that stuff on standby, just in case.
Maybe we should do an episode on technical issues.
I don't think I've had enough technical issues yet to actually have a show about it, but there we go.
Yeah. When tech goes wrong.
Oh dear. That's how the TV shows, just watching other people balls up, isn't it? And then laughing at them, and then one day it happens to you. Balls to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Sounds like a plan.
Anyway, so people listening to it on the podcast would not have joined us on the chat room. You can join us whenever we do record this live. It's on Mixlr, mixlr.com. /RogueTwoMedia. We record it, we have a little chat room, we have a little chat in there, and the people in there are always lovely and friendly and helpful and stuff like that, and they keep things flowing. You can join in, and if you even want to, you can Skype in as well. We have a Skype, it is just under Elton McManus, all one word, as everything is, and you can Skype in, join us, hopefully technical issues won't ensue, and we can get you on the air straight away. So, this week, we are talking about school. Oh God, I'd even forgotten about that. Even stuff that happens after school as well, because that's all part of your routine, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Oh, man.
This may be a two-parter.
Oh, no.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just school, is it? It's the coming home. It's your fish fingers and chips. You're doing your homework. It's watching the telly.
And going to school in the pissing rain on your bike.
Well, only if you're posh. I mean, have a bike round my way and you likely never come back out and find it.
Ah. Okay.
Oh, and Andy said, and stickers. But I think we've done that, haven't we?
Stickers have been done, Andy. Come on, Andy.
Yeah.
But yes, stickers are part of the school process, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, are we naming schools?
Yeah, why not?
Or should we not name schools?
Well, my one effectively got burnt to the ground by the government and resurrected as a completely new building. Ah. So, and I don't live far away from it actually. So, yeah. So I don't mind naming it. I don't care.
Okay. Well, I live miles away from mine now, so I don't care either.
Yeah. Let's just throw them under the bus.
Okay. So where did you? What were we doing first? Should we do? Because it used to be called infants, juniors, and secondary.
That's right.
And I don't even know what the kids call it nowadays. High school.
Grammar and academy and and all that kind of crap. Anyway, let's just assume that everyone's older than 19. Just take it from there. Just sit back with our pipe and slippers and talk about the fact that it might actually just be like everyone knows what we're talking about when we say, secondary school, primary school. That's it. And any of you overseas types, Google it.
Yeah, Google is your friend.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's there for. Just for this very thing. Oh, Doreen's got a mental flash of Grange Hill's comic strip. Yeah.
Yes, and the flying sausage.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Did you ever get a flying sausage in in school dinners?
No, only in the showers.
Bow, bow.
Oh, I've just had another thought of what happened at school.
Jim's coming with a euphemism.
Right, I have to say this now. In my secondary school, I went to Hurstmere Secondary School in Sidcup on what was it? Hurst Road, I think it is.
Yeah.
And that has just reminded me, because I said showers. There was one kid, I will not name names, but it was the first time, because it was an all-boys school.
Oh, yeah.
You kind of have to work out your boundaries and what goes and what doesn't go.
Right.
I suppose it's the same as when you go to any school, whether it be mixed, all girls or all boys. But
it's whether or not Mr. Floppy touches or not. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, we all had. I think it was our first game of rugby. We first went out. We had all nice, pristine kits, never been used before. It's the very first time that we used them. We had like reversible rugby tops as well.
Oh, right.
So one had a red stripe on it and the other one was a plain white one. And so you would get caked in mud. And it was time for the showers after the rugby. And
oh, dear.
One kid was so nervous about it, he brought his swimming trunks in. And well, everyone else has just gone in there in the buff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but why would you? I mean, not that I'm saying that I wasn't that kid, because I was. Oh, I can't do public showers. What's the point of that, flopping your tackle around for everyone to see?
Well, I think it's a rite of passage. You have to.
It's rite of someone's passage.
Yeah. I thought you had to do it. Did I go to the wrong school? Shit.
Oh God, Gareth Thomas has said about lost property PE kits as well, but you have to do that. Oh no, we'll get to that in a minute. I mean, the showers were a constant terrifying thing for me in secondary school, because I had not been in a situation where I had to be nude with a bunch of strangers, and I wasn't the most, shall we say, athletic of children. I'm not even the most athletic of men. So then being a waddling blob kind of flopping about with like 3 pubic hairs and a voice breaking, your tackle dangling about, that's not really the kind of bonding process you want with a bunch of arseholes who you don't like already.
Right.
Okay. Let's be honest. I mean, really. So you obviously went to a posh school.
No, I didn't. No, it was in Sid Cup.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's just rugby. I mean, no school did rugby.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. See, Gareth Thomas, he was athletic at school and still hated the joint shower. See, the whole point is, that's it. You don't. What was the joy of going into?
Hang on. I'm not saying there was any joy in going in these.
Right.
I'm not having fun going in there. I'm not rubbing my hands and going, I love rugby because, we get to have showers after.
Did you have a little playful towel fight as well? Slapping each other's bottoms?
Don't make me run. I'm full of chocolate. No, we didn't have that. No, I think it was more because there was only one kid that went in there with his swimming shorts, then that kid naturally becomes the font of everyone's pointing and laughing.
You don't need to tell me. I fully understand this.
It kind of screams, especially in an all-boys school, it screams, please pick on me for the next hour.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but why? Why would that be? See, this is the thing, all right? I think we're going to come back to this a lot. I think we both had very different. Oh God, Gareth Thomas is going. That kid had bosoms, but
he's got a boner. He's got a boner.
Yeah, exactly. Why would you put yourself through that, and then have to sit around and talk like nothing's going on? I think you and I had very different school upbringings. I think you were like the school cool kid running around.
God, no.
I bet you were, and I bet you were in with the in crowd, and you were being all flash and everything with your ball skills in the shower as well. And
no, I
bet
think
you waddled about.
I think I was one of these ones that could go in between the groups.
Yeah,
I wasn't in the elites.
No,
or the rejects.
Yeah,
and I was kind of in the middle and could talk to everyone and anyone.
I think this is going to become psychotherapy for Medcalf 101. The more suddenly I'm getting chills just thinking about going into those horrible stained yellow manky tiles. It always smelt slightly damp.
Carol's going to wake up in the morning and find you on your bottom in the shower with your swimming trunks on, just rocking backwards and forwards.
Hugging myself, singing the theme to Crying Game. Did you enjoy PE? I mean, let's do that. I mean, did you enjoy PE?
Yeah, I flipping loved it. There was... What didn't I like? I didn't actually like rugby. I don't like rugby.
No?
I was never any good at that. I like the cricket, football, hockey, anything really. I liked all that stuff.
You make me sick.
Sorry, mate.
I went to PE with a sense of dread because I was always the last kid picked out of the line for team games. Always. And then when I actually did do one thing right, which was we played basketball once, and I scored a fluky sort of basket from about sort of halfway down the court. Mm-hmm. Suddenly, everyone wanted me on their team, but didn't want to talk to me. And then when I proved that was clearly a fluke, that was it. I was relegated back to the shallow end, shall we say? Mm-hmm. So yeah, PE wasn't great for me, and we had this guy called Mr. West, and he looked like Harry Enfield's Scousers. He had these kind of ringlets. He was a 4 foot high man, all hair, in a sort of Adidas blue tracksuit that he never stopped wearing.
Right.
And he had ringlets, and he was about 8 feet wide, and looked like just blowing on the whistle would kill him. But somehow he was all right. He was okay. But me, fatty Medcalf, you get chosen last and mocked by everyone.
Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah. Oh, Jim said, if you wanted detention in our school, you had to ask the games teacher what time it was. He hated being caught out like that.
See, did you ever skip PE because of that, or what?
Yeah, well, I formed all sorts of excuses from feigning sickness to deliberately forgetting my kit to stubbing my toe on a medicine ball. I just everywhere. Any way I could get out of it, I could. And I think the PE teacher basically figured it out. So I ended up just bringing my school books in the end.
Right.
And just sitting in a corner while he kind of berated me for about 5 minutes. It was Gareth Thomas said, my PE teacher was very fair. Whenever he forgot his kit, he did it in his vest and pants. Not sure where he is now, but his house got burnt down.
Oh, no.
Hashtag joke.
See, if you did forget your PE kit in primary school, you had to do it in your pants.
Well, we always did that. That was just, there was no PE kit in my day. No, this is going to sound like bloody back in my day, but
black plimsolls.
No, none of that. No,
oh.
Primary school. It was vest and pants. Everyone, and we were mixed school.
Wow.
And yeah, up to the age of like 10.
That's very primal, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was like exactly like, when you see something like Kez or something like that, where you had the sort of grubby white vest and little sort of tighty whitey sort of Y fronts, and the little girls are doing the same thing, and you're all running around doing sort of, what was that game? It was the only one I was ever good at because I could work out the position. It was the thing where you had to run north to south in the gym, and then east to west, but they actually called it port, starboard.
Oh yeah.
Port, starboard, aft, and bow. I can't remember what they were now, but I was always quite good at that because usually the teacher would call it out, and by the time everyone worked it out, I was waddling down the end.
You're saying that you didn't go to a posh school, but they are using boat references.
Yeah.
As to what position. If anything screams middle class, that screams middle class.
Oh, get out of it. Yeah. We're talking 1970. We're talking 1973, 74. Like everyone sat down to watch Tomorrow's World.
Okay.
It wasn't sitting there watching EastEnders and reality TV programs. It was crap. So yeah, it was everyone had highbrow pretensions.
Yeah. See, I never tried to skip PE. There was once, one lesson I missed a lesson of badminton, and everyone was in the hall, and there was another kid who I got on really well with, and we were sat on the stage just watching the other players play badminton, and we were just chatting away. And every now and again, he'd disappear his face into his blazer. And we were, this must have been 4th or 5th year. So we're talking 15 or 14 years old.
Yeah.
And what I found out was he had an aerosol in his inside pocket. He was getting as high as a kite while everyone else was playing badminton. And every now and again he'd go, "Do you want some? Do you want to go?" I'm like, do you know what? No, I don't. It was just a butane bottle. But I thought,
right.
Pretty now, man.
He was on poppers. He was on little butane poppers.
You know the big yellow butane cans you can get to fill up lighters and stuff like that?
Yeah.
He had one of them in his inside pocket.
Oh, wow.
Just chuffing it away.
Yeah, dear, those were the days. You remember when, glue sniffing and sniffing aerosols was a thing before everyone discovered marijuana?
Yeah.
I tell you what, though, I always used to remember from school was I loved art class in secondary school because they had all those big, heavy marker pens with the xylene. The one when you open up and you sniff the caps.
Oh, the whole room could smell it.
Yeah, and there was this teacher called art teacher called Miss Doherty. I'm pretty sure it was Doherty, and she later became my nemesis. So I'll talk about that later. But she was obviously always off her tits because there was like trays of these pens, various colours, and half of them the lids were left off, and you'd open the door into the art room, and it was like, oh God Almighty!
Yeah,
it was great, but you did know you were walking into an atmosphere that was not conducive to health. Very different safety regulations back in those days. Yeah. Doreen was saying about smells and saying like the new book smell was amazing, but I didn't have a new book. Never had new books.
No, I never really had new. I suppose like your notebooks that you had to write in. That was all right. That was always nice to get one of them. But did you have a thing where you had to cover your book?
Yeah, actually, funny enough, Gareth has just brought that up, covering them up with wallpaper.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Wrapping paper or brown paper or whatever.
Yeah, what was all that about?
No idea. I never quite got that. I thought Gareth saying it's to protect them. I never got that because I got some naff wallpaper that my parents had sort of scraped off from their hallway that we were redecorating. There was a big sheet of, and I thought, I'll just do that. And it was kind of beige with brown stripes, and kind of the stripes themselves were kind of like velveteen or whatever it was, like a angora or something. Not angora, velour.
Yeah.
So it was like this weird fuzzy brown covering, and it was like. It looked like my book had just been left in a really naff Indian restaurant.
There was a kid, because you always have two types.
Yeah.
You get the lucky sod that gets all that clear stuff, so you can see straight through it, so it looks really professional, and like his mum obviously spent 20 minutes just doing it for him. Or you have the other kid who gets wood chip wallpaper that's left over, and that's all they've got.
Oh God! See, I feel like basically I'm becoming the guy that you guys used to mock.
I feel like I'm bullying you at the moment. I do apologise.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah. Andy was saying that he used to put sticky back plastic on his one.
He was it. It was him. It was him. Always the one with the plastic one.
The clear polythene.
Yeah.
And Jim had screaming orange striped 70s wallpaper.
See, mine was leftover wrapping paper, like birthday present wrapping paper.
Yeah, Doreen had left off wallpaper. So there you go. See, I'm not alone. Yeah, wrapping paper was odd because it would always say something like happy birthday or something, or have balloons on it and make you look really odd.
Mm.
You'd be the odd kid coming out, and it's paper meant to be torn. So
yeah, it's thin.
It's very thin. It wouldn't last very long.
No, it didn't at all. The problem with that is, if you've got a roll of it, then all your books, all your notebooks, and if they're all the same size, they all get covered in the same wrapping paper. And so then you spend half the day picking out your book, looking through it. No, that's not the right one. Putting it back. And doing that again and again, every single lesson.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You'd be sitting there completely unaware of exactly what on earth what book you were pulling out. Though I could always tell my science one because my teacher, Mr. Ward, used to love printouts. I think he just bought a printer or something. And well, he was in the 70s, so he probably didn't have a printer. I think he just gained access to the photocopier, but so I never actually wrote anything in the book. All I would do was write on the sheet and then stick it in the book. So basically you're taking an A4 sheet and putting it into an A5 book every time. So the book by about midway through term, it was about 3 times the size. It was like Sean Connery's Grail diary. It's kind of a big fat thing. It was like, yeah, that's definitely the science book, because you take it out and it'd be like dumph as you hit the floor with it.
Well, I have that now when I go look at Parents' Evening, when I go to see my kids' stuff, and everything's folded over and glued in. You think, flipping out, man. Yeah,
that's a great way to keep the environment in it. You know, not only have a book that you could write in, but have a book and put more paper in it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice.
Okay, right. Teachers' names. I think we can just go with surnames.
Okay.
Any peculiar names that you had?
Oh, I've got a couple. You see, because I've got 2 main ones. One is one from my school, my school history back in Mallory Secondary School, just up the road from where I am now. And the other one is that Carol used to be a secondary school teacher, and I used to sort of frequent the sort of social circle of teachers. And there was one who sort of started the same time Carol did, and her name was Sarah Isles. She was a religious education teacher, Sarah Isles, and basically, well, how can I put this? She wasn't married, so she was Miss Isles. And it took the kids approximately 30 seconds to work that out, and immediately became, oh, missiles has gone ballistic. Missiles has gone off. Missiles has got, yeah. And it's like, oh God, that's the most unfortunate name. And she's so timid.
Oh no.
So the kids would just run roughshod right over her. So that was that one.
Hello, Andy, by the way.
Hello. Yes, I was going to say the other one I had was my design and tech teacher, who had a German surname he was called Mr. Vonke. Unfortunately, because it was German and his surname was Vonke, it was actually spelt wanker.
Oh no!
He was Mr. Wanker, and he was at great pains to tell everyone that it wasn't wanker, it was Vonke.
Which I'm sure made it all the better.
Exactly. No, but he was kind of a typical 70s teacher. He had like the big bushy moustache, and he looked like he obviously modelled himself on Dennis Waterman, sort of post Minder, or early Minder, sort of Sweeney era. So he wasn't a guy to mess with. But the fact that his name was Mr. Wanker was brilliant. So that's my one. Oh, and Jim says on the chat, we had a science teacher called Nigel Waterfall Brown. Nigel is a shit. Who sounds like a terrorist cell.
Do you think these people had gone through like a really terrible thing and they thought they'd become teachers so they could inflict punishment onto students for the next generation? Well, there's no way he got through school with a name like that.
Well, he would have been German, so he wouldn't.
I meant the Waterfall Brown one. Sorry.
Oh, Waterfall Brown. No. I did. Yeah. But Miss Isles. I mean, she just didn't didn't see the connection until we were all sitting in a pub, and all the teachers are sitting in the pub, and she started saying stuff about the kids mocking her, and suddenly we put the connection together, and it's like, oh, she's Miss Isles.
That's wonderful, that is.
Anyway, and for what it's worth, Darren tried to go out with her once. Anyway, moving on.
Hey, whoa. That's a story there.
Moving on.
Did he have missiles lock?
No, he didn't.
Was he firing duds?
No, he failed to make lock. There was no tracking the missiles. Yeah.
Oh dear.
I was going to say something about chaff, but I won't. But anyway, hello, Andy. You've arrived, and Phil Bellamy's appeared in the chat. And
hello, Phil.
Hello, Phil. Hello, Phil.
I had to tell you a story about one of my teachers.
Go on, him.
A couple of them. So when I went to school, way back when, our head teacher was called Mr. Wood. He was a rather imposing fellow. He was, probably 6'7" sort of thing. He used to walk around with, the traditional schoolmaster's kind of gown, kind of like the university one sort of thing. So
like
he'd have his tweed suit, and he'd always have his gown on, and his university gown. And what was funny at our school is, I mean, it was in no way, a rough or troublesome school or anything like that. But when it came to lunchtimes, what you'd have is all the teachers would disappear off to the staff room, except for whichever poor sod was stuck on playground duty. Mm-hmm. But the headmaster, Mr. Wood, and I think it was the deputy headmaster, or the head of a building called Mr. Meverell, would patrol the school, if you will. They'd walk around, just like, go, oh, you there, boy, what are you doing? Just like kind of stirring the shit. Effectively walking around like a commandant at the camp, and would make a point of eating in the hall with the students. And he just had that air of command sort of thing. Imagine, if you will, Darth Vader and Palpatine decided to go for a walk around the Death Star. Just for shits and giggles. It was that sort of an atmosphere when they're walking around. Yeah. And he kept that school on a very tight leash. We were all, I won't say terrified, but you knew not to mess with him. Not because, he was violent or anything. He just had that air about him. But he retired the year after we'd left for school. But my younger brother was still there. Yeah. Within 1 year of him leaving, the school went from being one of the highest rated in the borough to being on special measures. Nice. Because the second the new headmaster came in, who was all kind of like we're all going to get on well, and it's all this new age sort of, we're all going to embrace, I'm going to say it, hippieism and stuff like that sort of thing. That school went to shit, and it continued to decline until quite recently, when it was finally closed and brought under new governorship or whatever it was. When it was bought up by the military for testing. Bought up by the military for testing, yes. They currently use it for testing various forms of mustard gas. Nice. On the chat, Doreen was saying that she had a high school teacher who had a thing about sandals all year round. A science teacher who we called Jesus. Oh, yeah. He wore socks with his sandals. There was also a female teacher who wore silver sandals. And Phil Bellamy said, I had a geography teacher called Mr. Ewing who we loved, mainly because he was useless and spent the lessons having meltdowns. And Gareth Thomas was saying, did anyone have cool teachers? Because he had Mr. Jones, but you can call me Dave. First name teachers, that kind of thing. We were never allowed to do first names, but we did have a very cool English teacher. I can't remember his name now, though. But every now and again, we'd all be doing our lesson, and he'd just start telling a story, and he'd tell the most frightening stories. Yeah? To a class of 30 12-year-olds, I suppose. Yeah. And every now and again, he'd bang on his filing cabinet to make us all jump. And it must have been hilarious for him to watch 30 kids' heads just jump up and down. Yeah. And they were really good lessons. He wanted to interact with you. He wanted to teach you. He was just so good and so calm at it, though. Some of them, it comes really naturally, and some struggle and really want to overemphasize their power that they have in front of their class. And yet, sometimes
that works against them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as far as cool teachers were concerned, I think the coolest one that we ever had, as far as I was concerned, or as far as a lot of them, my school year was concerned, was a biology teacher called Mr. Ward. And the thing with him was he was kind of like, he was the cool young teacher who just started.
Yeah.
But I had it on good authority from at least 4 girls. And this should also age me and date me and put everything in context, that he looked like Mel Gibson. But we're talking sort of Mad Max Lethal Weapon era.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sexy Mel Gibson as opposed to Mel Gibson, the anti-Semite nut job. And so he would turn up in he would always have like an open neck shirt going down one button too far, and he'd have this kind of cool sort of jacket, sort of Miami Vice style. And he'd come in and he would just talk, and the girls would just swoon and have their first crush and everything. And the boys would go like, "Oh, he's so cool. We want to be him." And what made it even better was for biology lessons, because he would do different sciences and he would do biology, and he actually brought in like all of his animals, and he had like rats and all this kind of thing, which was cool enough. But then one day, we came into the class, 3 of us, me, Jason Hunter and Mark Spinks, who were friends of mine, and, walked into the class and he went, shut the door. And we shut the door. And it turned out that he had a bird-eating spider and it had escaped.
Oh, no.
And it was under the tables. And you know, like the old science room tables, which used to have the bunsen burners in that go right to the floor? Yep. Yeah. Well, so it was under one of them. And so we had to go round with the broom, sort of poking under the sort of thing, hoping that something basically the size of a dinner plate wasn't going to just wander out in front of us. And and he said, just kick the table. If you kick the table, you'll hear it hiss. And it's like, great, we're looking for a hissing tarantula. Help.
This explains so much about you in later life.
Yeah. So it was literally like that bit in Alien when they're looking for the dead facehugger and just poking into little crevices, sort of looking for this thing.
You didn't stand on the table and then set the extinguishers off, did you, with a lighter?
Yeah. Don't worry, Newt, they're coming.
The motion tracker.
Yeah. No. But no. Actually, he caught the thing. He picked it up. He was just nuts. But then, obviously, you know, when all the girls came in and they saw this thing and they screamed, you know, suddenly me and Jason Hunter and Mark Spinks's kudos went up 200% because we obviously were in the room with this big spider. And
what was he doing with the big spider?
He was showing it. It was a biology lesson.
But, okay. Right.
Yeah.
That's what I don't understand, because we had biology, but it was just the flower stuff. Everyone drew a picture of the flower and had to learn the stems and the petals and the stuff like that. Everyone's done that, haven't they? That was as far as we went. We didn't do any dissecting or anything like that. My son's done dissecting. And I haven't. I missed out on that. They had that on ET. I always wanted to do that because they did it on ET.
That's because you're too posh.
Oh, okay.
You're too posh. You see, you were in a posh school. You'd have Jeeves come in and do all that in the other room, in the kitchen.
He's not quite that posh.
No. Yeah, well, it's okay. You were too busy doing rugger and chasing blokes like me around.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Andy, anything?
Just a completely different tangential thought here, but one of the unique things about my school was it was actually located on 2 sites. So we had the Downage building, which was where you were for the first 3 years of school, and then a Sunnyfields building, which was 2 streets away, and there was 2 alleyways to get to and from the building, and that's where years 10 and 11 were. But you had classes in each one. So in between lessons, you know, you were filtering backwards and forwards to get to the school thing, which was obviously an opportunity for all the, be it cool kids or naughty kids or however you want to frame it, to just bugger off at that point, or to smoke in the alleyways and do all that sort of stuff. But did you guys, I mean, were you like trapped in school from the morning until the evening, or were your opportunities to escape and have sanctioned freedom?
No, only at lunchtimes. We could go down. We could go down to the local shop. There was a parade of shops down and way, and that's it. You could go as far as the chip shop, and then that was about it because you wouldn't be able to get back in time. But yeah, that was about as far as it went. You never went between school buildings. I don't know. Wouldn't have done that.
We were never allowed off site unless you had a pass or unless you knew where the hole in the fence was, because both deputy heads would stand at each gate and then check off your slips to either leave, because I think there was some incidents in a chip shop at one point which ruined it for everyone, so we weren't allowed out.
Oh, right.
And
okay.
So it was pretty much lockdown. That was it. You ain't going nowhere without one of these slips that you needed to get through the gate.
Yeah. On the chat room, the old chat, it's going great guns over there. And basically, there's a couple of conversation bits that come up that I thought I might want to bring up. But the first one was there any teachers you had a crush on?
Oh, well, there was, because it was an all-boys school, and we had an art
communal shower
and communal showers, yeah, and we had an art teacher, and she went by the name of Miss Strange, and she was a hippie goddess, shall we say?
Nice.
She had a rack to die for. And also, she must have, throughout her whole time at school, there must have been gallons and gallons of adolescent liquid spilt over her.
Adolescent liquid. That's just a beautiful phrase. Fucking spools of man milk. Yeah, well, I mean, lovely. That's just lovely. You made it sound so grubby.
Oh, but yeah, she was... Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
What about you, Andy?
Certainly towards the end of my tenure at the school, there was a very nice geography teacher joined the school. However, since a couple of my school friends I know do listen to the cast, I'm not going to mention names. But yes, there was one.
Right, okay. God, dear. Time's moved on.
Time's moved on. My friends have not.
Gareth Thomas said, you must have spilt more seed than Muhammad Ali at a bird feeder.
Wait, is that too soon?
Nah.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Not by the time this comes out on podcast. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. I'm going to heart that one.
That's that golf clap.
Golf
yes.
clap.
Oh, I'm going to heart that one as well. There we go.
But no, my favourite teacher in secondary school was Miss Woods, and she was a geography teacher. I never learnt any geography at all. I was terrible. I never got into the Oxbow Lakes and the Ordnance Survey maps, none of that. And she had this Northern Irish accent, and she was a little diddy lady. She was very thin and diddy, but she'd speak like this, and she'd be like, sit down, will you? And it'd be all this kind of stuff. But the thing is, then when she started to talk really softly, she'd be talking like this to you, and you'd be like, yeah, that's nice, because everyone's
keep talking.
She'd be in your ear. She'd be like, so, if you want to know how an oxbow lake goes round, I can help you there. You can just do this, and you're like sitting there going, this is making me feel really funny. and then you'd notice that basically, because she was quite a slender frame, and she was quite a young lady. She never wore a bra, so she'd lean over to help you, and as 13-year-old boys would do, you're presented with a full view, like the Death Star trench.
Oh,
two little gnome hats.
They must know.
Oh God, they must.
And well, I if that was the case, then I'd really think I'm in sort of trouble, because I'm going to be kicking myself forever now that I'm not one of those guys that turns up on the news going, my teacher, I had sex with her, please help me. But anyway, yeah. So no, she was lovely.
Okay.
And she started whispering in your ear, She's whispering those Irish sweet nothings.
Go on.
And then she'd see something over the other room and be like, "Sit down."
She suddenly went. She went from sort of one of the cores to Ian Paisley in like 2 seconds, like that. But anyway, so
embarrassing moments. Can I share an embarrassing moment?
Go for it.
Right, bearing in mind this is an all-boys school.
And were you back in the shower again?
No, it wasn't a shower scene. No. I wanted to borrow an album off my friend Grant. He'd lent me hooky cassettes of Nirvana. He got me into Nirvana, so he's to blame for everything from that point on throughout my whole life. We was also into Bill and Ted, and I think Bill and Ted Bogus Journey had come out, and you had God Gave Rock and Roll to You as one of the ending tune on that.
The second one, yeah.
And I remember he had the album. And I was, okay, right, I need to borrow this album. Can I borrow this album? I'm like, okay. Right, it's by Kiss. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I just want to borrow it. And I'd ask him maybe 2 or 3 times a week. And then I think one day it came out of my mouth wrong. I went, I said something about, where's my kiss? Where's my kiss? And all my friends around me looking at me go, what? What did you just say? Where's my kiss? No, the album. I want the album. Oh, no, I did not live that down for flipping ages. I don't want to ask Grant for a kiss.
Yeah. Oh, God. No, I never had anything like that in secondary school. I had one moment in primary school which I always remember, which is I found a moth and I put it in a not a biscuit tin, a little mini box of PG Tips, and brought it into school to show, and then the bloody thing escaped, and I got very upset by that, which was immediately like red rag to a bull. But as far as secondary school was concerned, I had a fight which was really quite funny. I was already class nerd at this point. I was well beyond class nerd. I mean, I actually took part in a D&D club at lunchtimes.
Yeah, that's all right. I was in the chess club.
Yeah, but no, this was just arranged by like a few friends, and so we all sit around. But the problem was the classroom was still actually a form room, so some little kids would come in from the year below and sit there having their lunch. So they'd be sitting there having their lunch while we're trying to go, oh yes, I'm a 4th level wizard. How about you? Fireball, sort of thing. And so they were doing that, and then all of a sudden, one little kid came up and started taking the piss, and I wasn't the calm person I am now, and so I blew up like a rocket. I was like, fucking gonna kill you, kid, and all this sort of thing, and I kind of roared and shouted and stomped, but I never really did anything. I never laid a hand on him or anything. And he turned around and he went, I'm going to get my brother on you. And then off he ran, in tears, because I basically just been shouting at him. And I'm sitting there like, well, I'm a 4th year. There's only the 5th years above me, and I can talk my way out of that. And I'm thinking, I've got this in the bag, nothing to worry. Suddenly, the world's biggest 3rd year came in. And he just walked up to me and he went, did you hit my brother? And I went, nah. And I got that bit out. And next thing I know, he punched me. He had boxing lessons, and he basically punched me right in the nose. I fell back, hit the window, fell forward onto him. And in a desperate bid, completely unable to see, because my eyes were already swelling up, I basically grabbed him by the nipples. And we kind of did this weird sort of dance where I sort of had him I tweaked both of his nipples and I'd lifted him up.
Were you trying to milk him?
No, I was trying to turn him off like an old ham radio. I was like, nah! And we're sort of spinning around in the middle of this room. And then he just basically turned around and he just popped me on the side of the head, right in the temple. I went doink, and I just went out like a light. I woke up, and I'm now really, I'm fuming. And I stood up, there's blood pouring out of my face, and I grabbed a chair and I went stomping down the stairs, and I'm shouting at him, and he ran off, and I'm holding a chair, literally about to beat him to death with a chair. And I came back upstairs, sat down, and just collapsed onto this table. And one of my friends came over, and he went, "You're all right?" And he literally just touched the back of my shoulder. I looked up, I couldn't see it, and I just thought this guy had come back. And basically, I swung a proper haymaker punch and just knocked him spark out.
Oh.
Knocked my friend out because I thought it was the bloke coming back to sort of check if he hadn't really done some damage. So that was probably the most, not one of the most embarrassing, but one of the embarrassing moments of my life in school, because, there I was, being beaten up by a third year and then beating up my mate in what appeared to be some kind of weird frustration because I got basically routinely humiliated by someone younger than me.
Gotcha. Oh, bloody hell.
Yeah.
Andy, have you had any embarrassing bits?
Oh, my time in school was largely lurching from one horrible, embarrassing, life-altering moment to the next. But there is one in particular which I shall furnish with you now. This is the story of how I got 2 metal plates in my arm in front of the entire school, which was fun. So did you guys have sports day?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we can take it as read that we all hated sports day. Well, I certainly hated it.
Oh, no. Elton loved it. He gets to go in the showers afterwards.
Oh, fine. Well, anyway, where my school was is we're actually quite close to a sports stadium. It's now actually the home of Saracens Rugby Club, but back then it wasn't. It was just a sports stadium and a track. And basically, once a year in May, we'd all be frog marched down to the stadium, where during the morning everyone has to take part in sporting activities, which I loved. Mm-hmm. And then in the afternoon, we'd all be sent up to the stands to basically just have the afternoon off, while the actual athletic kids who enjoyed that sort of shit used to compete for the actual prizes and all that sort of shit. So let me paint a picture for you here. This is 1996. I'm in year 10, I believe, GCSE year at school. And we've gone down to the sports day. At this point, this is my 4th or 5th one. I'm used to the routine now. I know I'm going to hate it, but I'm resigned to it. I've turned up there, sort of thing. Done the morning activities as is we're basically forced to, I've sucked at the hurdles. I've sucked at the javelin. I've nearly been hit by a shot put at one point, which was fun, but it missed, barely. But anyway, it's a shitty, horrible thing. But anyway, it's lunchtime now. Awesome. We can go up to the stands, just piss around basically for the rest of the evening before we get to go home early with any luck. So we've all brought packed lunches with us. So, in plastic bags and all that sort of thing. So my mates are actually down near the front of the stadium. So I've got to go all the way up the steps to the back, walk along, and then come down the steps in the middle of the stadium. And I remember going up, running along, coming down. Then everything goes a little hazy for me. But basically what happened is, next thing I know, I'm at the bottom of the stadium and the entire stadium has erupted in laughter. The unpopular, fat, sort of not very good at sports kid has fallen down. Hilarious. The entire stadium is erupted in laughter. There were people at the other end of the stadium laughing. They don't know why they're laughing. They just know they have to laugh. It's funny. So I get up just thinking, great. Yeah, well, there you go. Can my life get any worse? And as I get up, I suddenly noticed that my left arm has a rather peculiar bend in the forearm. A 90-degree bend, if you will. And I had suffered a compound fracture of my left arm.
Oh, no.
Now, as I've sat up with my arm in this very unnatural angle, everyone around me, it's like with me at the epicenter, there's been a massive intake of breath. It's like, sort of thing. It's like me at the center, there's a vacuum forming around me from all these people just breathing and going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. So I'm sitting there with my arm bent sort of thing. I'm instantly in shock, which is great. I love shock because I don't feel a fucking thing. But I go, oh dear, I seem to have broken my arm. So I get up and I start walking off and I go, oh no, wait. I turn around and I go back down and I go to my mate Brian Leagate, probably know him from Space Dock and Black Dog, and I give him the keys to my push bike's lock and I go, can you take my bike home? I don't think I'll be able to ride it. There's another kid there called Colin, wasn't the sharpest tool in the thing. Runs over and tries to grab my arm, going, "Do you think your arm's broken?" I managed to stop him grabbing my arm at this point, but I'm pretty sure it is. So I walk up the stadium. I seem to recall it was in silence at this point. You know, no one was speaking a word. I'm the only thing moving. Teachers are running up and instantly not knowing what to do because, again, arm flailing in ways it really shouldn't have flailed and all this. So they kind of run up and go, "Oh, all right, maybe we should take you downstairs to see the first aider." And it's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then made our way down to the first aid sort of thing. At that point, you know, the shock's starting to wear off a little bit. I'm becoming more aware that my arm is a mess. And I'm just like, you know, a bit out of it. Sports day continued, basically, sort of thing. And I went off to hospital in an ambulance. Awesome fun. But my biggest recollection of that day is about an hour later, while sitting in A&E, suddenly getting a massive cramp in my legs and screaming because of a leg cramp. Yeah, I don't give a shit about, but I just had a massive cramp down my legs from all that bloody sports in the morning. And that was probably the most embarrassing and or memorable thing that happened to me at school.
Nice.
Bloody hell.
So next time you see me and you see the big scar on my arm, that's where it came from. And I still have the 2 plates and 12 bolts in there.
We'll all be gathering around to have a look at this. What scar on your arm is it?
It's 2. So I have a scar on the upper part of the arm.
Yeah.
And I have a scar directly below it. Now, the one on the upper part is a bit of a mess because after a couple of months, they put me in a half cast, so it's just like the forearm is covered. And it was itching one day, so I was trying to itch it, as you do. And all of a sudden, the knitting needle came out quite bloody, and I popped the stitches and had to go back and have the cast off and have them fix it. So it's a bit of a messy scar.
Nice.
Right. Well, that's just... Yeah.
Funnily enough, though, ever since then, I think they do now go back to the stadium for the events, but they're not allowed to take packed lunches.
No shit.
Is there a little memorial?
I think there should be.
Are
If
you
there's
on,
not,
are you
there
on
really
a safety? Have you changed the school rules?
Oh yeah, I totally changed the school rules.
Excellent. You've
In
had
fact,
a
I tell you
lasting
what,
impact.
a spin-off as so that was pretty embarrassing for me at the time. Well, actually, at the time, I didn't really give a shit because I was in shock, but it was pretty embarrassing. But then at the end of that year, when they're giving out the achievement awards, I got singled out with a special award for always bouncing back from adversity.
Or
Because
bounce
of that.
off the ground.
Yes. So yes, that's just what you want. Someone who doesn't like attention being drawn towards them, being forced to stand up in front of the entire school and have it pointed out that you fell and broke your arm. So,
That's wonderful.
Nice.
Right. We've got a couple of minutes left. I don't know whether to refresh the feed and go for another half hour on this or not.
So go for it.
Yeah? Okay,
I think
right.
plenty to go.
Okay, right. Okay, I'd say everyone in the chat room right now, refresh your feed because we're going to stop and then start again in around about 5 minutes' time. So
Yes.
if it goes quiet, just refresh it and then we'll be back in the room. Or the podcast people, ignore that message. It'll be fine.
Yes, indeed.
Right. One thing I did want to talk about, when the big TV gets wheeled out.
Oh, and the BBC clock. Programs for schools.
Yeah. Our RE teacher once showed us Flatliners because of the religious implications on that film. And we all got it, it's fine. But when the old Oompy Poompy bit came in, he's never jumped up that fast. You've never seen a 6'5" man run across a classroom as fast as he did when that bit came on because he was so embarrassed. Just to hit the the tape's messed up here, so I've got to fast forward it, and then we get look, it's better now. There we go. And everyone has seen Flatliners before this has happened, so everyone knows exactly what he's fast forwarding through.
Yeah,
it was just glorious.
Yeah. And the thing was, when you used to fast forward video, I mean, you can still see the images flashing around.
Yeah, they're just doing it quicker.
They're just doing it a lot quicker. They're doing it more like real life. To 35 seconds and done at a frantic pace with everyone looking confused at the end.
Like a 2-stroke engine.
In more ways than one. Euphemism. Yeah, 2 strokes. Yeah, I mean, I always remember the TV coming out and it was like, this is going to be great. This is going to be great. And then it came out for about 30 seconds and I'm thinking, this is brilliant. Here we go. We're going to watch telly for work, for school. And then it would be sitting there like on that clock with, which used to be the BBC clock, and there used to be just that little marker sort of counting down very slowly. And then all of a sudden it'll be like some kind of science program it's been parodied by by Peter Serafinowicz, Look Around You. But it was just embarrassing because it'd just be like a white screen and a bottle, and then this music goes, and then a bloke in a beard who's about 60 years old just wanders out and goes, "This is sodium chloride. Sodium chloride reacts with water. Let's see. Experiment 1. And it'd just be like, not edited at all.
Yeah.
It's like about 5 minutes of him unscrewing the bottle and then taking the thing out of the bottle, filling the jar up with water, dropping the thing in the water, watching it fizz for about 5 minutes. As you can see, this is effervescence. Effervescence. And then basically right across the middle of the screen would come the word, done in really naff. And like after about a minute of this, you suddenly realise, oh fuck, we got a whole lesson of this. This is worse than the teacher. It was just like sitting there. So the TV was always one of those moments of magic wonder, and then you'd realise, oh no, actually we got BBC programming for schools, and we'll be here for hours. That was terrible.
Yeah, sometimes they were glorious, and sometimes they were utterly boring.
Yeah. The only thing I got, and I know we've only got about 2 minutes, but the only thing I did was my English oral exam, which actually I did on the movie Aliens, which I actually did a review and a breakdown of the whole thing and explained everything, and then had to use the video of the film, clips of it, to actually explain what I was talking about. And I got away with actually showing the entire class Aliens.
I brought in Alien and Predator, and we watched that throughout a whole lesson once.
Really?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. See, posh school.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
See, you'd never got away with that with my school. I mean, literally, it was just a case of having to remember what the counter was on the VHS. Go, right, okay, counter number 557. Stop. Played it. And it was big press buttons as well. None of these sort of remote control bollocks.
Right, okay. Yeah, we had Alien, so I was worried because we put Alien on in the first hour. Well, 45 minutes is pretty much quiet and build up.
Yeah.
But everyone was just glued to it.
Yeah.
And I was sat at the back of the class going, they're watching Alien. It's freaking brilliant. And then like the bell goes and then you don't get to actually see anything. And everyone's like, no, bring it in again next time. Okay, yeah, we'll do.
Well, speaking of bell, we've got approximately 30 seconds left on this feed.
Okay, well, we'll just refresh it. Hang on a second. Here we go.
Okay. Here we are. We're back again.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah. It wasn't exactly super high tech, was it?
No. It was the days before DVDs and flat screen TVs. You could hear that TV coming down the corridor.
Were your TVs in like armoured cases as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a birch wood kind of thing. Like fake wood.
It took us ages to work out that the doors could be used to stop the sun glare.
Oh, sunshades. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. What I was going to say, is there one thing that I was going to bring up earlier and with Mrs. Doherty? Is there a teacher you wish you could go back to now in school and go, look, or meet again and just rub it in their face that what happened?
Oh God, yes.
Because the reason I say this was there was this art teacher, Miss Doherty, and she literally wrote in my school report to my parents that Lee's got some artistic aptitude, but he's going to go nowhere if he just keeps using a pen. And then would constantly berate me because I used pens instead of brushes and ink and all this kind of thing. And then finally, in my last week of school, she said we'd had careers day, and then got to this whole thing, and she turned around and she said something along the lines of, You're never going to progress as an artist, and you're not going to be able to get a job as an artist if all you're going to do is just stick to one medium." And that was her last words to me ever. And I thought, what a cow. And then, and I was the highest graded art student in the school, in the entire school, and I'd won a competition for the whole of Europe across schools. And I'd beaten like people, and my fucking artwork ended up in a national gallery off of this competition, and she still just went, you draw in pen. And so she's probably dead now, but because she was quite old back then, but I would really like to go back to her and go, look what you said, look what I did, and look what I've done, and fuck you. So I was wondering if there was anything like that for you guys.
The only teacher there was a couple of teachers I despised and didn't see eye to eye. But I suppose the only one I didn't really, really hated was a lady who smacked me. But
all right.
Her name was Miss Fiddler. Now, nice. I don't think you'll be allowed to have a teacher's name like that anymore.
Wow.
I think it might be frowned upon.
Yeah.
We had BBC Micros, and they were quite new in our junior school. And me being me, if there's a button, I need to touch it. And
Mrs. Euphemism.
I was a bit of a sod, I suppose. Like you said, I probably was in the middle of the bullies. I probably got bullied, and then probably bullied people to negate being bullied. And I think that happened quite a lot. But I think that was a cycle of life in schools. I don't know if it happens now, but that's the way I saw it anyway, or justified it. Yeah,
it's easy to do when you're the one on the outside, you bastards.
No, I have been the one on the outside and the one on the inside. Trust me. Trust me, I have. But I was walking past this computer, and with the BBC, you had to let it load. And so we went out. Oh, was it the Spectrum? What was the one with the rubber keys?
The Spectrum.
The ZX Spectrum, yeah.
I think it might be in the Spectrum instead of the BBC, because that was the newer computer. And we went out for play, and bearing in mind I'm like 8 or 9 at this time. And we come back in from play, and it's still loading. And so, me being me, I have to press a key on my way past, don't I? And that just stops everything from loading up. I've pressed something and it stopped it from loading.
Yeah.
And so she asked the whole class, has anyone pressed anything? Has anyone touched anything? Because it stopped loading, and now we can't do what I wanted to do when we all got back into the class. Yeah. And I was silent, and everyone else was silent, and everyone else knew it was me. And I was just quiet. I was like, no, I've gone too far now. I'm not going to raise my hand and then admit it. And this carried on for maybe 20 minutes with just her asking, who was it? She probably knew it was me. Probably saw me do it as well.
Yeah.
And in the end, I did turn around. Yeah, it was me. It was me. And so she made me stand up, and she smacked me in front of the whole class. Now, I don't blame her for it, really.
Yeah.
Because it was telling me off. I don't smack my kids, but no. I've had smacks before, and that's what happened then. And I just hated her from that point on. I think maybe later that day we had to make masks, and we were told, no dowdry colours, no darks, no browns, no blacks, no nothing like that. We want colourful stuff. And I was like, no, I want to make a bear. And so we got that, the squares of paper where you had to lick to stick them down.
Yeah.
God, I hated them things.
Yep.
Oh, they were disgusting. I can still taste it now. And that's why I'm glad we don't lick stamps anymore. But I started making my bear, and I was like, no, I'm going to make a brown bear. I want a brown bear. I don't want a colourful bear. I want a brown bear. Yeah. And she told me off for that, and I got a smack for that as well, because I made a brown bear instead of a colourful glitter one. You know, there's kids putting like glitter on and sparkly stuff and sequins, and like, bears don't have sequins. Bears don't have glitter. Bears have brown fur. So that's what I want to make. And so, I'd like to just go back to her and just put two fingers up to her and say, bleh. Yes, you're right. I didn't amount to anything, but, I don't care. Bleh.
You did. You got this wonderful podcast, mate.
Yeah. Apart from that, if she's listening, thank you very much.
Patreon, but she's.
By the way, can we have an iTunes review? Because I haven't had anything from a Miss Fiddler yet.
On the subject of teachers who were a pain in the ass or whatever, we have Frog Stomper on the chat saying we had a typing teacher who would hit you if you used the wrong fingers on the wrong keys.
Oh,
yeah. And Gareth Thomas saying that's strict. I think I had a bald rubber thrown at me a couple of times too. Apart from that, I was well behaved.
You just reminded me of something.
He had a teacher who jabbed him in the ribs with a pen.
Oh, we had a science teacher who put a car rear view mirror on his blackboard so he could see what was going on in the class.
Nice.
Now it's
kind of genius.
It's a genius idea. But you was always wary of it because you'd be looking into it, trying to do something, looking into it. And, he's looking at me. Oh, nuts. But it is such a cool idea. Why don't teachers do that more often?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe because they've really all got eyes in the back of their heads, I guess.
Yeah.
I think they just review the CCTV footage afterwards now, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Check where their trackers have been.
Yeah, exactly. Check all the ankle bracelets with the trackers on them. Yeah.
You were saying earlier. About a vivid smell from school, Elton. Did you remember that Copydex glue? That like really foul, fishy, smelly stuff.
Ah, yeah.
What was that one? Is that like the yellowy stuff?
Yeah.
Latex glue, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like it. Just whenever it came out, it was vile.
Paper glue.
No, it was kind of like that, but it was thicker. It literally, when you took the cap off, it was like rubber holding the cap where he spilt some of it. And I guess it might have been sort of banned by the time it got to you, Elton, because this is your age. But then again, Andy's a fetus and he's younger than you.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So it can't be that excuse.
Are these the glues where they had like a slanted lid and kind of a wiper built into the lid, and so you turn the glue bottle upside down, squeeze the glue onto the paper, and then use the lid to wipe it across?
No, they came in little bottles, and you unscrewed the lid, and then there was a brush built into the lid cap. And like Lee said, when you got the older bottles, they'd have effectively turned to rubber. It was like a latexy sort of thing,
and it would make this kind of noise as you kind of pulled it apart.
Yeah. It was one of those ones where when you're bored, you kind of like be peeling the residue off of the lid of the thing and then flicking it across the class, because what else are you going to do?
Yeah, it used to bounce really well.
Yeah.
But you could also do what I used to do, because I had dry skin. This is really weird. This is a weird one. But I still have dry skin. And what I used to find was if I put some of that Copydex over my hands, not only could I have this kind of really weird, satisfying thing where you peel it off and you get like a whole sheet, and it's like a mold of your
hand. I know exactly what you mean.
But also my hands would go really soft. So it was like kind of really weird. I was like, wow, I've actually got soft hands. Jim's going, yeah, he thinks it's PVA glue.
No, I just posted a link because apparently they still make this shit. At least when you type it into Google.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. It's actually used for adhesive carpets. You can glue carpets with it. We used to have it for sticky stuff in books.
Yeah.
Right, like, in the chat,
yes.
Gareth Thomas has come up with bad behaviour. Who had detentions?
Oh, yes. Well, I'll go. You go first, Elton, because I reckon you were probably a bastard tearaway.
I didn't have that many detentions, I don't think.
No?
The first year at secondary school, I had lines, and it was my very first time doing lines. And when you're doing something for the very first time, you're thinking, this ain't too bad, actually.
Mm.
It's not that hard, is it? And we lost like a 15-minute break. And I can't remember what we were doing, but I didn't really have that many detentions. I did get in trouble because we had a little book that we had to carry around with us and write all our homework in, and we had to get our parents to sign it and the teachers, our main teacher,
homework
to sign
diaries.
it. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And one month, I had I forgot to get my form tutor to sign the book, and I didn't want my mum or dad to have a go at me about that, so I forged his signature. And it worked really well. And my mum and dad signed the book, and they didn't think anything of it. And then I handed it over to him to sign, I think, after my dad had signed it. And he looked back in my book and went, I didn't sign this. I didn't sign that.
Uh-oh.
And the only reason he knew, because it was such a bloody good copy, was I did it in pencil, not pen. If I'd done it in pen, I would have got away with it.
Nice.
I forgot to rub it out.
And he would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for you pesky kids.
Exactly, yeah. And I remember him looking through it and going, I didn't sign that. I wouldn't have signed it in pencil. I was signing pen. Like, yeah. Did you do this? I went, yeah, they're really good. He went, it's a good job I haven't got a checkbook on me, isn't it? Oh, Jesus Christ. Come on, man. Honestly, you think I'm going to go through your checkbook? But,
and
yeah,
did you?
I got in serious shit for that. Really did.
I thought you were going to say you got in serious debt. Yeah. I think the only time I really got into any kind of trouble, I mean, apart from that punch up I was talking about earlier, was with a maths teacher. Well, I'll be honest with you, we might come to grades in a minute, but I completely failed maths. Absolutely. By the end of secondary school, I totally and utterly failed it. And one of the reasons was we had one teacher who was rubbish. She was an old teacher. She was very close to retirement, and she obviously had just given up. And that was it. She had nothing else to say, nothing else to do, and the class would just run riot. But when she left, we got given this other teacher called Mr. Burton. And Mr. Burton, I always remember him because he was a very young guy, but he had no hair on the top of his head. He had like granddad hair, if you know what I mean. But he had these white flecks of shit in the corners of his mouth. That you just thought, just lick the corners of your mouth. It's just disgusting white gunk. And anyway, he was so tedious, and I'd learnt nothing from the previous teacher that I would just get bored and I would just doodle spaceships all over my book. And one day, me and this other guy, Gary Carpenter, figured out this game where we could draw spaceships like battleships, and then we put our books together, and then we'd say, ships that were 2 inches long could have a ruler shot that would be like 4 inches long. So you draw laser beams from the spaceships and you could blow them all up. And we worked out this kind of weird battleship thing, and we would spend whole lessons just doing this. And then one day it got out of control when I actually brought in a drawing pad especially to do it. And the teacher caught me, Mr. Burton caught me, and he lost his shit. Because he'd obviously clearly been noticing that we'd been doing this for a while and hoping it would just go away. And he was just like, right, you've been flaunting my authority for so long, sort of thing. And we were in this kind of, like I say, mental phase that essentially maths lessons just didn't work, didn't do anything. And he turned around and he started doing all this stuff, and we just laughed. And that was it. Straight to Miss Parkinson, the head teacher. Straight to detention afterwards. There was no do not pass go, do not collect 200. But
as soon as you laugh at a teacher, though, you're on a whole road to hell.
Yeah, that's it. There's no coming back from that. But in this day and age, modern day, what would have happened? The first thing that happened was I guess, if it was like one of the sort of, these mums who blame everyone for everything, you could imagine that a parent would have been down saying, well, if you just taught my son maths better in the other classes, then he wouldn't have done this. Yeah. But no, as it was, I got absolutely reamed by the by the head teacher and I was in a lot of shit. Didn't stop me though. I did it next lesson and lesson after that as well.
Yeah. There was a guy I used to sit with all the time. I'm still in contact with him now, so I won't bring up his name just in case. But we were sat in science lesson, and he was a flipping good artist. He was really, really good, and he just had a natural knack of bodies and hands and stuff like that. All the stuff that's really hard. And he used to draw. He used to like Conan the Barbarian and stuff like that, and ninjas and stuff. And he
drew the chest out.
Yeah, he drew Conan, and then he drew like a damsel in distress, all chained up, and totally naked, utterly naked. And then he did like another naked woman next to that, and another naked. Me being like 11, 12-year-old kid looking over his shoulder, going, "Oh man, that's really good." Trying to remember it for later on. Yeah. And the teacher saw us looking over at his drawings, and he calmly walked over, doing his little spout to the class about science and stuff like that, and he stopped next to him while he was drawing, and he put his hand down on the piece of paper, grabbed it, picked it up, looked at it, folded out and put it in his pocket. didn't say a word.
Yeah,
I'll save that for later.
Yeah, I'll be in the staff room.
I'll be in my bunk.
Not a word was said. It was just, I think it was more the embarrassment of me and my mate.
Nice. So, did you ever end up in detention, Andy?
A couple of times. Again, I was the insufferable goody fucking two shoes. So there was one. Usually you just kind of caught up in the class detentions, such as it were. But I mean, okay, so it's not really detentions, but certainly towards the end of school, there was more than a couple of occasions where I just went, "Fuck it, I cannot be asked for this," and I went home early. I just suddenly realised that they were shit at keeping track of registers and all that sort of stuff.
I never did that. I never did the bunking.
Oh, it was a couple of times. But I mean, I would. I don't give a shit at this point. I think it was 20 odd years ago. But basically, I'd like, just because I used to cycle into and from school and everything, and I'd just take my bike and I'd go. I wouldn't go straight home, obviously, because you don't want to accidentally bump into anyone that might be asking why you're doing that. So I'd cycle through the park and take a gentle stroll, so that I'd be kind of arriving home at about the time I was meant to. Which, I used to enjoy that on occasion. It was nice, peaceful and quiet, because again, it was kind of like a first taste of the world when all the fucking shitty school kids weren't around, which is awesome. Because prior to that, the only time you'd really experience it is if you were sick, and then you're not going to be out experiencing the world. And it was magical. It was like, wow, it's so quiet, and, it's just pleasant, and there's no buses full of fucking school kids going by, and, did you guys have rival schools at all, incidentally?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, okay, so didn't have to worry about Hendon School being out and about or anything like that. It's just, whatever, we're just kind of breezing along, loving the world. It was awesome.
Okay.
We got a bus to school, the 51 bus.
Oh, yeah.
And on the way back, a couple of times, that was the place for planning fights. And I always shied away from fights because I'm rubbish at fighting. I hate it. I hate even the thought of it because I'm just a scaredy cat. And there was many times where something would kick off and then 30, 40 kids would just charge downstairs off the bus and form a ring around two people on a bus stop, and I'd be sat at the top of the bus going, I'm not getting involved in that, I just want to go home and have a cup of tea. And in the distance, as the bus drove away, you could see these kids piling in on each other. And I'd always ask what happened the next day, but I just didn't want any part of that whatsoever. But I'm sure that's just part and parcel of where I was growing up. Because of rival schools, you would have rival schools getting on our bus. But I didn't understand that.
No, I didn't understand it either. I mean, there was only a couple of times when, like I say, Mallory apparently went to war with Bonus Pastor, and it just seemed to be something where all the kids just suddenly knew this was happening, and then after school, like the whole school just turfed out and walked down towards the chip shop, and it was down the way I usually walked home, and so I walked with them, and then everyone just milled about outside the chip shop, and there was no one from Bonus Pastor there at all. And I always got the sense that it was one of those things where everyone just bigged it up as if something was going to happen, but actually nothing was ever going to happen. Ever. And I always thought it was just bullshit. I never once saw a school fight another school. I just always heard that was going to happen, and it was going to happen, and it's going to happen down here, and then everyone would just get embarrassed and just go home. It's like, okay, fine.
There was, in my second year at school, there was a big fight between St Mary's and Hendon. Nothing to do with me at all, but it was one of those things that just kind of happened. And after that, nothing really happened because I don't know what was put into place, but effectively they segregated, so there was no kind of crossover or anything like that. I don't know if they put teachers on buses or whatever, but it was one of those things that kind of went into the mythology of the school, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, well, I think we're running towards the end of this one, I think.
Yep. Okay.
We have to go and put the chairs on the top of the tables.
Yeah. Oh, see, you keep reminding me of stuff. A kid at my school, he set all the Bunsen burners alight. Not the actual Bunsen burners themselves, the gas jets.
Can I just take a moment here to just say, as gentlemen who are no longer children, how utterly insane is it that we allow kids to have access to gas fires? It terrifies me. I don't even have kids.
But it doesn't. That's the thing. I've been to Katie's school. Those things now are like safety harnessed up to the wazoo. You got to literally have like keys to nuclear detonation. You know, you got a 3, 2, 1 activate kind of thing.
You see, again, maybe my memory's just a bit foggy, but I seem to recall them being the equivalent of a bloody, those burners in hot air balloons. It was just that sort. You turn the little spigot, what have you, and then you suddenly had this bright blue flame which could probably cut through metal like the welders, and it's just like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and then, but the thing was on the actual table, there was actually like little taps, like a little cross of 4 taps.
Yeah.
That you could just, and they weren't connected to anything. You had to put the rubber hose on, but you could turn them on, and I was always able to sort of, basically make the sound of it and make the teachers kind of freak out. So you could do that. You could do that, and that would be, who's got a tap on? Who's got a tap on? Not me. Who's turning on that tap?
See, ours had to go into the back room and then turn all the gas supply on for the whole room. So you'd walk in, and if you knew that the class before you had gas, everyone had just opened their gas pipes, and everything that was left in that system would flood out into the room. And then it'd be gone. You wouldn't get anything else extra.
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, ours was just always on. It was just always on, and it had that very distinctive smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That gas has.
Yeah. I know that gas has, but back in the day, science rooms were a magical place that just smelt really odd.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Chemicals and gas, and
There was one incident with Brian Leagate managed to lose quite a bit of his fringe when he introduced magnesium powder to an open Bunsen flame.
Oh, yeah.
That was entertaining.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the science accidents, there's lots to choose from. But I was going to say the one thing I was going to bring up before we wrap this up was school lunches, packed lunches, or did you go to school dinner?
Okay.
If so, what did you have?
Right. I didn't have school dinners. See, that was the posh people that went school dinners.
Mm-hmm.
We couldn't afford that, so it was just sandwiches. And I'm sure I've said this on Shonky Lab before, but anyway, I'll say it again.
Mm.
My mum would make me either peanut butter sandwiches or Marmite sandwiches. That's all I would eat. But she'd get the butter out the fridge, and then it'd tear the bread, and it'd just all lump into one big ball in the middle, and it just made me heave. I couldn't stand it. And I did tell my mum, don't do that. But every morning I'd still have sandwiches there, and so I'd have to take them with me. And every day I wouldn't eat them, and so they'd sit in my bag. And then it got to the point where I was getting home and going, okay, I've got 3 sets of sandwiches now. So I had a head bag under my bed, and so I'd put them in that, and I'd think, oh, I must get rid of them one day. But Mum and Dad always noticed something in the bin. They always would. And so
it now occupies an area the size of East Anglia.
Well, the days would continue on. They'd go into weeks and then months, and then my dad came in going, "There's a funny little whiff coming from your bedroom, and it seems to be from under your bed." Okay.
Hang about. Where are you going with this?
Well, he opened up this head bag, and there must have been about maybe 2 months worth of supplies of moulding sandwiches where I just didn't want to eat them.
Oh man!
It was just because I was caught in between a rock and a hard place on how to get rid of these things, and sometimes I would get rid of them at school, and there was days where I'd get rid of 3 or 4 in one go. I'm like, I really must keep on top of this because I don't like doing this. This is getting a bit stupid. And I could smell it, but then all of a sudden it was my bedroom, so sometimes I couldn't smell it. And so, I ended up with hundreds and hundreds of sandwiches under my bed.
Yeah, mouldy sandwiches.
I was going to say antibiotics by the end of it. By the sound.
Oh, God, yes. Yeah. To the point where the bread had turned into penicillin, but also the stuff that it hadn't turned into penicillin, it was brittle.
Oh.
It was so stale. You could wedge doors open with it.
It was so fluffy, it was too cute to throw away.
Yes, kind of.
Yeah. Gareth Thomas said he had packed lunches because he couldn't afford school dinners. Sandwiches, chocolate bar, bit of fruit and crisps. But basically, the thing I always had school packed lunches, but my mum always used to wrap them up really tight in cellophane. The sandwiches. So what happened with things like peanut butter sandwiches is they dry out, and so you got this sort of. It became like essentially a sausage roll, or like a mini roll with peanut butter in it. And and again, you can't have peanut butter now in school in packed lunches because people might have peanut allergies.
Everyone's got an allergy now, haven't they?
Everyone's got an allergy. But anyway, moving on from that, maybe we should have a grumpy old man cast for that sort of thing. But yeah, so we'd have that, and then Mum would insist on leaving like an apple or something in there. So you'd have this rolled up bit of sandwich wrapped in cellophane, which now I guess someone's going to call a carcinogen, and then you got this piece of fruit, and then there's this big 4-finger Kit Kat, and it's like, well, I'm going to eat the 4-finger Kit Kat, I'm going to nibble on the sandwich as the bits that I can extricate from the cellophane, and the apple just stayed there. And basically it was a war of attrition between me and my mum. It would I'd not throw the apple away, and it'd come back in my little lunchbox, and then she wouldn't put another apple in there, she'd just leave that one. Until one of us gave up. Either one of us threw it away, or she said, "Why aren't you eating your apples? Eat your bloody apple."
She said, "No."
no.
I had packed lunches for a period, but then one of the things I figured out was if I helped a couple of my mates put the chairs away in the dining room, I got free food. So that was kind of awesome. Got a slice of pizza and everything, which was very nice. Looking back, I'm pretty sure it was terrible pizza, but it was pizza, so it was like the best thing ever.
Yeah.
So
I didn't discover pizza until I was in my 20s.
Oh, wow.
I missed out on that. But one thing I would say just with lunches as well, school lunches, was I always used to go and meet Darren at lunchtime. And I go down, and he always had this thing where he'd have fish and chips. And he'd sit down and he'd do fish and chips. And I always remember this. And I remember it to the day I die, because it always freaked me out. He would basically have the fish right in the middle and the chips around the edge. And then he would take ketchup and he'd just literally turn that fish bright red.
Oh, no.
And then what he'd do is he'd smooth it all off with his knife. And I always remember he did that. And then he stopped doing fish and chips, and then he had a sausage roll, and so it'd be sausage roll and chips, and I'd sit down with him there and watch him again do the same thing. He'd get like a whole sachet of tomato sauce and just go right over the top of it, and then smooth it off. So it was basically like a tomato ketchup log.
Oh my God! What is the matter with that man?
I was thinking the exact same thing, and he complains about the hipster bars.
Yeah, I know. But no, it always used to make me laugh, that one. But sitting there, but that was my abiding memory of school dinners. Getting those. And just moving on. Gareth Thomas has brought up another thing. If you did have lunch, but packed lunches, what lunchbox did you have? Because he had a Snoopy one, a big red plastic Snoopy box.
Right. Oh, the matching ones with the flask that would come along with it.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember them? They're so cool.
Oh, yeah. Well, I actually found out, I was up in my parents' loft a couple of weeks ago, and I found somewhere hidden away up there, for God knows what reason, there's still an Empire Strikes Back red plastic lunchbox up there.
Nice. I mean, for me, I don't know why, because obviously with all the Star Wars stuff going on, I would have thought I would have been a shoo-in for that. But actually what I got was a Starsky and Hutch one.
No.
Right.
I remember, and I can't remember what it was, but it was one of those ones where you had to collect the tokens from something, and it had a built-in radio into the lunchbox. And I'm trying to remember what it was. I think you had to collect drink tokens, maybe Capri Sun or something like that. Mm. And I just remember it had a radio. It was a shit radio. It never worked, but it had a radio. So it was like the most amazing thing ever.
Oh yeah. That's the whole point of it, really, isn't it?
Exactly.
What did I think I had a Masters of the Universe one.
Look at you, posho.
Yeah. And before that, I had just a very basic sandwich box, which would fit my lunch in my primary school. And on the outside, I had glow-in-the-dark E.T. stickers on it.
Ah, that came with Shreddies.
Yeah, that's the ones.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah.
And they were rubbish, because I thought the whole thing would glow in the dark. Oh, no, it's just the outline.
Yeah,
just the outside.
Yeah, just the outside. And I always... I had loads of those things. Oh, Gareth wants to know if your Masters Universe box was blue.
I'm pretty sure it was, yeah.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Just asking. But I all those stickers, all those kind of Masters Universe stickers and ET stickers with the outside rim that glowed. I used to have those and I had black hole ones.
Oh,
so,
okay.
I had a Vincent and a Maximilian and loads of old Bobs, because obviously those were the ones that weren't very popular, but they were the cheapest one to produce, I guess.
Yeah.
But hold on. Yeah. Andy just posted up a picture of his one with the Darth Vader.
I found that picture, yeah.
But but the other thing I had was Shrinky Dinks. Do you remember them?
It rings a bell. Is this something about putting something in the oven?
Yeah, basically it was a sheet of plastic, usually about the same size as one of those Panini stickers.
Yep.
and you would colour it in, and it was like a clear piece of plastic, and you colour it in with like felt tip pen, and then stick it in the oven. And when you did that, it shrunk to about the size of like a little pedestal key. You know, the keys that you get for your desk.
Yeah.
And it would shrink down to about an inch. And because it shrunk down, it got thicker. So it would become go from a sheet of paper to essentially something like the thickness of a Lego brick. And all the colours would get super intense because they've gone from thin to melted down. And you used to get all shrinky dinks, and we used to have shrinky dinks at school, swapping them out.
Do you know you can still do that today?
Shrinky dinks?
Well, okay. You know the cheap crisp packets? I'm sure I've said this one as well. You've got to make sure it's not a foiled.
Jim's jumped straight on it with a link as well. Planet Science. Go on. So carry on. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, crisp packet. If you get the 10p Raider packets,
yeah,
and you put them in the oven and they shrink, and then you have a miniature little crisp packet. It is awesome.
Wow. There you go. Gareth, look, we used to microwave crisp packets. I bet that worked well with the silver foil ones, Gareth.
That's why he's got a door embedded in his face.
Yeah, that'll explain why that house burnt down to that teacher of his. But yeah, wow. Yeah, I'm looking at the instructions now. Preheat the oven to 250 degrees C. Eat your crisps. Clean the crisp packet using water and washing up liquid. Dry it. Cover the bottom of the baking tray with foil. Put the crisp packet on the foil. Leave the crisp packet for 2 to 3 minutes. Ask the adult to take the baking tray out of the oven.
It shrinks it. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Wow.
So I feel I have to ask the question.
Yeah. Why? Because you can.
Yeah, because you can. Why not? I feel a Shonky Lab video coming on.
Yeah. Frazzle packets you could make into key rings, Gareth's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Jim's agreeing. You can make great key fobs. Yeah. See?
Right, okay. When I get back from holiday, this is going to happen.
Project Shonky. He's got. There you go.
Right, okay. I think we should bring it to an end there about school.
Okay.
Guys, have you got anything to plug?
Well, only the Black Dog podcast, which is you can find at blackdog.eplanetonline.com and on iTunes, and hopefully in a couple of days Stitcher, because someone was asking about it, and now we've put it back on Stitcher, so hopefully that will get approved.
Cool.
Andy?
There's a couple of things you can find me on. One is Space Doc Jury with a couple of other bearded twits. I think you might be one of them, actually.
Yeah. Pretty sure.
Which you can find at Geek Planet Online, spacedoc.geekplanetonline.com, and on the Book of Face. I'm sure you know. What's the Facebook pages?
Facebook.com/groups/SpaceDocJury.
That one too. And will be coming very shortly to YouTube as well. You heard it here first, folks. I've made it official. It's happening. Putting it on YouTube. Got to do it now.
Got to get on those graphics now, haven't I? Really
we've got to actually do it now. Yeah, it's been announced. And anything that's been announced is actually happening.
Edit this out, Andy.
No, I'm not editing it out. He's editing. And the other thing you can find me on is the Grand Prix podcast with Mr. McManus.
Yeah!
Where we talk about Formula One shit. Although someone decided to put football above the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend.
I didn't.
I'm glaring at you right now.
It's a trip. It's a road trip. You can't turn road trips down.
Canada, Formula One, Hall of Champions.
I know. Do you know?
I'm going to text you as awesome stuff happens.
I have to drive down Le Mans, down the Somme. Is it the Somme Strait?
Yeah.
I have to drive down that this weekend.
Are you doing it at night?
I will be.
Awesome.
I'll make sure I am.
We need to do our Le Mans special as well.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Anyway, this is production meetings. So yeah, thank you to everyone that's joined us in the chat room. Much obliged for that.
Yes.
It's been rather busy in there, so that's been awesome.
Yes.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. Yeah, everyone has said everything that I'm on otherwise. So What I will say is we do have up-and-coming shows on the Shonky Lab. Pop over to shonkylab.com. All the details are up there. On the top right-hand corner of the screen, you can find out when the next show is going to be happening. Or jump onto the Facebook group, which we have at facebook.com/groups/shonkylab. And you can find out when the next recording will be there. So, without further ado, I say thank you very much to Lee.
Thank you all. Thank
you, Andy, for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Elton, for having me.
And I will say this. Please leave quietly. This is a residential area.